Let's take a step back. Imagine living in a country where freedom of speech slowly becomes optional, where the courts begin to bend, where the press is no longer the watchdog but the enemy. Most people think democracies fall in explosive moments, like a coup or a dictator marching into the capital. But history shows something far more unsettling. Most democracies don't die with a bang, they die slowly, quietly, and legally. Today, we're looking at how that process works and why it didn't just happen once in Germany, it's happening again. Modern political scientists have a term for this: democratic backsliding. The slow erosion of the checks and balances that keep a democracy alive. And what's terrifying is that it almost always follows the same pattern. A charismatic leader rises by exploiting crisis, fear, or polarization. That leader claims only they can fix the system. Democratic institutions, like courts, media, or elections, become obstacles. Laws change, norms break, and freedom shrinks. And suddenly, the democracy people thought was permanent isn't there anymore. This pattern isn't theory, it's happened before, in one of the most devastating collapses in history. Case study number 1: Hitler. Germany didn't vote for a dictator, they voted for stability. After the Great Depression, millions were desperate, jobs gone, savings worthless. The Nazi Party didn't win by promising war, they won by promising order. But here's the part we forget: Hitler didn't overthrow the government handed him the keys. In 1933, President Hindenburg appointed Hitler as Chancellor, legally, and within weeks the steps began. First, the Reichstagsfire, a national crisis that Hitler immediately weaponized. He blamed his political enemies and demanded emergency powers. Public fear did the rest. The Enabling Act. Presented as a temporary measure, it allowed Hitler's cabinet to create laws without parliamentary approval. It sounded harmless. It wasn't. It was the moment democracy ended, on paper. Control of institutions. Judges swore loyalty to Hitler. Independent media was dismantled. Opposition parties were outlawed. Elections continued, but the outcomes were predetermined. No tanks, no civil war, just a slow, step-by-step legal dismantling of a republic. Historians agree, Germany didn't fall because Hitler broke the rules. It fell because he changed them. Case study number 2: the United States today. Now let's be clear, the United States is not 1930s Germany. The contexts are different, the outcomes are not predetermined. But the warning signs? Many scholars believe they're unmistakably similar. Polarization at historic levels. Millions believing their political opponents are a threat to the nation. Attacks on the press. Challenges to election legitimacy. Laws changing to shift power toward the executive. Political scientists classify the United States as experiencing democratic erosion. Many scholars make this comparison not about ideology but about behavior, like discrediting independent media, challenging judicial independence, refusing to accept electoral outcomes, encouraging distrust in institutions, portraying political opponents as existential enemies. These aren't things unique to one person, but Donald Trump is the most visible example of a politician using these tools in modern America. In 2020, the refusal to accept election results wasn't just rhetoric, it pushed millions of people to distrust the electoral system itself. And here's the key parallel. In both 1930s Germany and today's America, the danger isn't a single leader, it's the weakening of the system that keeps any leader in check. Democracies aren't fragile because of the people who live in them. They're fragile because they depend on voluntary restraint. Once leaders stop respecting the limits of their own power, the system starts to shake. The fall of democracy is rarely sudden. It's a long chain of tiny decisions. normalizations, excuses, and temporary measures. But here's the surprising part. History also shows that democracies can recover if citizens recognize the pattern in time. The danger isn't left or right, it's the belief that the system itself no longer matters. When people stop trusting elections, when courts become political weapons, when the press becomes an enemy, when power becomes the goal instead of the responsibility, that's when democracies begin to slip. Germany's collapse was catastrophic. America's story isn't finished yet. And ultimately, democracies don't fall because people want a dictator, they fall because people think just this once it won't matter. But it always matters. History doesn't repeat, but it does whisper. And right now, it's whispering loudly.